Today is kind of a beginner intro real estate video kind of thing. I don't know, but I'm gonna go over a few real estate terms, explain them so you understand and you don't look like a fool when you talk to people. Because what's worse than looking like a fool when you talk to people? I don't know, probably a lot of things. Anyways, let's get into it. First thing on the list, if you're getting into real estate and you need to price a house, don't go to Zillow and look at the Zestimate. I mean, what are you doing? Don't do that. The Zestimate basically takes all of the houses that have sold in that area and just throws it all together like price per square foot, which you do not want to do, okay? So don't do that. Don't use this estimate. When I comp, what does comp mean? Comp basically means you're finding other properties that are similar. So if you have a house that's a 3-bed, 2-bath, then you're gonna go find another house that's a 3-bed, 2-bath. And you're going to see what this one sold for, and then you're going to compare it to yours, and then you're like, okay, well this one will sell for this once it's fixed up. So there's different types of comps. There's as-is comps, there's rehabbed comps, so that's down the line, okay. Anyways, but Zillow just throws them all together and says, have a good day, and 90% of the time that value is incorrect. You can look at it as kind of a basis, but don't actually run your numbers off of that. You can kind of look at it like, okay, it says 300, I'll probably have to be somewhere around that, but just don't say, okay, I'm gonna lock it up at 290 because this estimate's 300 and I can sell it at 300. I mean, come on. You usually want to be at 70 to 75, especially in this market, 70% of ARV minus repairs. What is ARV? ARV is after repair value. So let's say you have house, beautiful house, except it's not beautiful. It needs like 60 grand in repairs and flooring and paint and a roof and an AC. You gotta get the cat piss out of the floors, all of this stuff. So you have to spend 60K. So the after repair value is the value of the house after you put the 60K into it, or whatever the repairs are. After repair value. Easy enough. Okay, now, one of the terms that confuses the most people, and it shouldn't, because it just sounds fancy. Escrow. What is escrow? Escrow is something that gets opened up when you buy a house and then closes when you sell a house. Typically, it's around 30 days where escrow is open. So if I get a contract to buy your house, and I'm going to open escrow, which is just a fancy term of saying going to a title company and saying, hey, I'm gonna buy this house. And then 30 days later, we're gonna close escrow and I'm gonna purchase the property from you. So think of it like a grocery store conveyor belt. When you go to a grocery store and you're picking out your groceries and you're picking out this and that and all this stuff, then you go to the cashier and you put your groceries on the end of the conveyor belt. So that is opening escrow. Then your groceries move down the line and they get scanned and bagged by the cashier. That's closing escrow. So imagine you want to buy a house, you put the house on the conveyor belt of the title company, then it goes down the conveyor belt for 30 days or however long closing is, and then you're opening escrow and now the house is in escrow and now the cashier scans it, title finishes work and you buy the house. Then you close on the house, they bag it and give it to you. That's close of escrow, okay? Makes sense? We went over sub 2 seller finance the other day, but I'll do it again. Sub 2, subject 2 is you're taking over somebody's mortgage payments. It is different than assuming the mortgage. Do not get those confused. Assuming the mortgage means your name goes and replaces the seller's name on the mortgage. In sub 2, you are not assuming the mortgage. The mortgage stays in the seller's name. You're just taking over the payments, okay? And you get the deed to the house. So you own the house, the mortgage is separate, deed and mortgage are separate, and you're paying the mortgage payments for the seller basically. So you can go turn it into a rental, do a wrap or whatever. Now we can get into wraps. Then there's also seller finance. Seller finance is like I explained the other day with cookies. You have a cookie that costs $5. You don't have all $5, so you'll pay $1 every single week until that $5 is paid off. Boom. Okay, that's seller finance. Same thing with the house. Now, let's get into the different types of exit strategies. First, you have wholesale. What is wholesale? You have a house. I am going to wholesale your house to John. So John is over here. He's this pen, okay? I'm going to wholesale the house to John. So I say to you, hey, would you take $90,000 for your house? And you're like, sure, that seems like a reasonable cash offer. So then I get the property under contract for me to buy it. Now, there's something called an assignment contract. That assignment contract I can get in place with John, and basically I'm assigning my rights to the contract to John. So I'm just the middleman. How I explain this to people, if you're younger and you know what drop shipping is, at very, very basic, there's a lot that more goes into it, so don't flame me in the comments for saying this, but it's easier to explain. You're basically drop shipping real estate. Simple as that. Now, there's something called a novation, okay? So how are novations pitched? Basically, a novation is like a one-stop shop. If a seller has more time, a wholesale deal typically can be closed in 7 to 30 days. And that's the benefit, is the speed and convenience of wholesale or of working with a cash buyer. What is a novation? Let's say the seller has a nicer house, or it's in the middle of nowhere, or they want more money for it and they're willing to wait longer, like 90 days. You can do what's called a novation. I do not recommend this for beginners. A novation is basically where you get the property under contract with a novation agreement with the seller. So you, let's say you, and then I go in and I clean up the property, maybe paint it, put very minimal work into it, like very, 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 very minimal work into it. Then I list the property on the MLS. What is the MLS? It's basically like Zillow, but for realtors, whatever. So you could even say I list it on Zillow, but it goes out to everywhere. So I list the property on the MLS. I look for a retail buyer because, do you remember John from the wholesale thing? John does not want to pay retail. He wants to make some money. But if you have a nicer house, or it's in the middle of nowhere, or it's livable condition, then you can do a novation. And by listing it on the MLS, you're getting the highest paying buyer because you're looking for somebody who's gonna live in it or has some sort of emotional connection to it and is willing to pay retail for the property instead of discounted. So you can make good money that way. To calculate for a novation, you're usually doing 90% of as is value minus 30,000 minimum for work, mess ups, and profit, okay? So not 90% of ARV, 90% of as is value. So you can look for comps that are not fully fixed up, but look the same as the condition of your house. Now, exit strategies if you're buying a property. There's multiple. Short-term rent. This is like Airbnb, whatever. Mid-term rent. This is a couple months at a time. Sometimes you have like 3-month leases, 6-month leases, but not long-term rent, which is usually like a year lease. So short-term, people are coming and going. Mid-term, people are settling, then they move pretty fast. Long-term, people are settling and they're acting like it's their house. And then you also can do what's called a lease option. What is a lease option, you might ask? Well, I'll explain it to you. So let's say you have a house and you want to rent the house. So I come to you and I say, hey, I will let you do a lease option on the house. Okay. So a lease option basically means you're renting the house from me, but I give you the option to buy after a certain period of time. Simple enough. Now, you can do what's called a wrap as well. So a wrap, basically, let's say you take over a mortgage sub 2, okay, subject to the existing mortgage. Remember we talked about this? Subject to the existing mortgage, and it's like a 2.5% interest rate. Beautiful deal. So what you can do is if you want to live in the house, I can say, hey, I will finance you on the house. Boom. So I can give you market interest rates, basically like 7% interest rate, and I make money on the difference between interest rate over time. So 2.5 and 7%, whatever that is, depends on the value of the house. That's called a wrap. Then there's also something called co-living. You can also do an exit strategy called co-living. PadSplit is the main company. I don't think I've heard of many other companies other than PadSplit that fill up co-living properties. Anyways, what is co-living though? Let's backtrack. Co-living is basically you take like a 3-4 bed house and you turn it into like 8-9 bedrooms. And it's short-term rent. You rent each bedroom for $200 a week on average. This can cash flow a lot. There's a lot of little nitpicking things and it's way easier said than done, but it does work and you can cash flow a lot. $200 a week per room, by the way. So whatever that is, I don't know. But I've heard of people cash flowing like 4,000 net a month from this, which is just insane. I mean, that's nuts. So those are the different exit strategies. I probably missed one. Oh yeah, you can fix and flip. I thought this was kind of there. So if you want to fix and flip, you're usually looking at 70% of after repair value, ARV, minus repairs. Let's say, go to the calc. Okay, can you see this? Let's say that you have a house worth $300,000 in your ARV. So you're gonna do point times 0.7, 70%, equals 210. Let's say it needs $60,000 in repairs, minus the 60,000. Boom, 150. So you need to buy the property at 150 to make about 15% profit, 13 to 15%. Fair enough? And what is a fix and flip? So it's basically all the stuff you see on the TV shows with like the remodeling houses or whatever. So you basically buy a house that needs some work, needs some updates. You buy it, do those updates, you put work into the house, value add is what it's called, and then you sell the house for a higher price and you make a profit. Fix and flips can take anywhere from 2 months to a year. I've seen both. I've seen longer, I've seen shorter, so it just depends. If you're new, I recommend not getting into fix and flips because there's a lot that goes into them and you'll probably lose money on your first deal. That's just how it is. Okay, I'm probably missing something. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think that's pretty much the basics though. That's pretty much the basics. So if you're wholesaling real estate, what can you do for lead gen? Well, good question, because we'll talk about that in another video. So you have to like and subscribe so that you can see how to generate leads and make money. So go down below and there's like this little button and it says subscribe. I know it's kind of like hidden. It's kind of weird. But if you press the subscribe button, then you can actually see my videos all the time. It's crazy, I know it's crazy. And if you like the video, then it actually recommends videos like this so you can learn more about real estate. Why wouldn't you like and subscribe? It's free. Anyways, absolutely destroy the day today. God bless you all. I'll see you later.